Today on the program, we're actually having our eye on the capital market. There have been latest developments in the market, and we're going to be talking about that on the show today. You can be part of this conversation. But to start the conversation, I have here with me in the studios two gentlemen. Mike Itegboje, he is the former president, Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, and Boniface Okezie is the president, Progressive Shareholders Association. Gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Morning. My pleasure.
So we're looking at the capital market, but let's just start with, this is February. For most of January, we noticed a bearish trend at the market. Was it anything to worry about, and is it something that we're still going to be seeing much of this month?
From my perspective, it's nothing to worry about. It's normal at the beginning of the year like this to find a lot of people cashing in on the Christmas and New Year festivities, and then they are broke. And then they come to the market to raise some funds before the next salary comes, and so it's expected. Of course, the CBN cash reserve ratio didn't have matters in January, so it affected the market, especially the financial institutions, the bank, the commercial banks, and that led to the bearish run on the banks in particular, and that has its own effect on the entire market. But then, moving forward, this is a period when we all expect results from the companies.
Exactly.
Earnings will determine whether it will continue bearish or it will be bullish, depending on what the results come out with. And yesterday, we saw the result of Fortis Oil, and if that is a sign, it means that some good things are going to come out, at least from the oil sector, if nothing else.
Mr. Okezie, how are investors going to be reacting? Because, like Mr. Itegboje has said, we're actually expecting companies to begin to post their results. Forte Oil actually did theirs on Friday, and investors are going to be getting over 4 billion naira dividend payout, 4 naira per share. Sure, that's music to investors' ears.
Yeah, the company for some time, dividend have deluded the investors. And true to their promise over last year's annual general meeting, they said they are putting things in place. The company had a position, and the dividend is going to come this year. And they look all the company for the year and announcing their result. It's a welcome development. Like I told my brother when we were in the room, I said that trigger of the movement we saw yesterday, that 4 naira, because looking at the market index of 40 oil, the price Ghana last year to date, so that gives cause for joy that I'm proposing 4 naira, which is good for me for a starting point, And he says he's not worried. I'm also worried. When the market were declining, a lot of investors were not even able to muster the courage to put in their money. Because if you are shrinking on a daily basis, just flat, and it's not moving up, this is a problem, okay? But market is not going to be a one-way traffic. It goes down, it goes up, and that's why it's become market. It's not even in a regular market. It goes, you make loss, you make gain. So the price cannot be up, It goes that, then something is wrong. Okay?
Now, in terms of looking at the activities at the market, last year, at least from June last year, we began to see some changes. We saw the exchange common stream and the rest of it. Now, some people have attributed the performance of the impressive run we saw because the market year to date finished at about 47% or thereabout at the end of last year. Yeah. It was quite impressive, judging from where the market had been coming from. But, I already mentioned the fact that the new trading platform was introduced. What other measures were actually introduced by the management of the exchange that garnered investors' confidence for them to come back to the market again?
You will realize that last year 2 new products were introduced by the exchange. In addition to tightening the rules governing issuance, governing compliance, and all that, companies have to comply with all the rules that have been made, and then the NSE had the power or had the ability to enforce those laws. Companies that were not doing well, that had not submitted results, were suspended or deleted. And all those made everybody to sit up. Of course, the situation is not perfect yet. We are still, the exchange is still fine-tuning and having discussions, educational programs with various stakeholders in the market to make sure that things improve. I remember that the exchange has a goal to make sure that by the year 2020 we should be talking of nothing less than $1 trillion market cap. Then, of course, outside the NSE, there's the development of the NASD that came on stream last year too. The NASD has helped to encourage shareholders, especially shareholders whose companies that took money were not listed on the NSE. Those companies have found their ways into the NASD, and people can now trade those shares. So the coming in of NASD has helped a lot, to make sure that, yes, the market as a whole is on course.
Yes, I'm listening, sorry.
And as at today, you also remember the role played by the press. I think people underrate that fact. The press played a big role in encouraging shareholders and investors to understand that the market is not that bad compared to all others. And I can say that channels have done a good work, other people have done a good job in this regard, because people need to be aware, and that awareness alone can help people understand what happens in the market. Like he was saying, the market went down, yes, but we should also understand that the market doesn't have to be going up continually. It goes, the ups and downs in the market make it a market. Nobody can tell you that tomorrow the market is going to be 100% this. If we can do that, then there will be no market. So the market, the forces of demand and supply prepare the market and make it to go up and come down. And when that happens, nobody should panic. People should have confidence in that market.
Well, Mr. Okezie, he actually mentioned, that last year we saw some companies who actually closed them down for not falling in line with regulations and rules that were actually set down by the management of the exchange. Now, investors who had business with such companies, how did they fare? When these companies were closed, was the process of moving their business from one company to the other seamless?
What my problem, or my stake is this: NWC is not doing enough, because where it concerns them, they are not getting their own returns in terms of listing fees. They bounce into those companies, they are delisted. But what goes in that problem, the problem the company are encountering for, they are not after it. That's the problem. Because when they delist those companies, who suffer? The investors. How would they recoup their money? How would they throw those stocks they are having in their hands?
Well, definitely the NSE will not
if
sit
it
with its hands.
If it delist them from the change,
no.
the shareholder will not trade their shares. That's a problem.
Mr. Okezie, we've had this conversation before when we said, was here.
Is to find out ways. What is the problem confronting them? What are they facing? What are the challenges? How to solve it? How to tackle them?
Because as a shareholder, the shareholders of a company have a duty to themselves and to that company to make sure that the company complies with rules and regulations governing listing.
And that's exactly what Ms. Awe said the day she was here, because we had this conversation again, and you still complain that the NSE was not doing enough to ensure that investors were protected. But she told you, she still said it, and Mr. Itegboji has still said the same thing. So we keep getting this impression that shareholders are not happy with the way the management of exchange is conducting their affairs at the exchange.
The NSE, for me, they talk about corporate governance. That's lip services. It's a thing of the mind, corporate governance. Because what you don't have, you don't give out. That's exactly no. If they are preaching corporate governance, then they say you will be able to practice it. And within their in-house, everything begins at home.
So if you talk of corporate governance, Mr. Okezie, with due respect, you see, there's a limit to what any exchange in the world can do. Aaron had the best code of corporate governance that it had in his house.
They still had problem.
And why did they have problem? Because they didn't keep to it.
That's what I'm saying.
And when they didn't keep to it, it's not a question of the NSE or NSEC that mentioned they didn't keep to it. People who are fraudulent wanted to be fraudulent. And that's what
it's still not the mind.
Let me give you an instance. Here in Nigeria, here's a company, you are a shareholder of a company. For 15 years, that company continued to post losses. What has the shareholders done about that company? Is it the NSE that will say something about that? The shareholders have a duty to say, look, this company, MD, chairman, board directors, why are we posting losses year after year? How are you people getting your salary? Nobody has done that.
Well, I think that's what the exchange has now decided to take by the horns now with the introduction of this corporate governance rating system.
If they're doing the corporate governance, there's nothing stopping NSE to invite also the shareholders leaders to hear talks.
They've had that. They've had opportunities.
For example, let me give you an example of last week, one AGM. I took the MD to the cleaners and I told them, with other or subsidiary operate, you are keeping promising us, it's going to be better every year, year in, year out. you conduct the AGM at your premises. Now you have joined the big boys to hold an event center without no dividend accompanied. That means something is still wrong. Still go back to hold your meeting at canopy meetings. You shouldn't come to the hall, a higher hotel.
With this
so we'll tell them what is the problem with the company.
Okay.